Well, I enjoyed these adventures at the Eagle Scout camp. As I said, we would go out in the morning and all rode on the back of a flatbed truck into the forest where we would build hiking trails and campsites. Particularly when I say campsites, one of the things that needed to be done was digging garbage pits.
Oh, nice.
And the garbage pit was probably 6 foot square, and we would dig it into the forest floor, about 5 feet deep. And it turned out that I was always the smallest guy there, so I would work in the pit. And after we had excavated it, we would cut logs and put it over the top. And then we would put brush on top of the logs. And then eventually we would shovel some of the soil that we had excavated back over there.
Uh-huh.
And then that would serve as a garbage pit. Would serve the campsite for probably a couple of years.
Uh-huh. What kind of garbage you put in there? That's not like, it's not your latrine. So not human waste, but just the leftover food and stuff? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we worked on these projects only in the morning. The afternoon was free, so we could swim in the lake.
Nice.
Or go canoeing in the lake. And there were no other human beings around other than
the scouts, yeah.
Eagle Scouts. Well, one year, my first year at the camp, I discovered one thing that was missing. There was no place to go to buy stuff or to even to find snacks to support the food. So I got an idea. I was beginning at that time to develop somewhat of a skill in photography, and I had my sister's Girl Scout camera, a little Kodak camera that took.
Betty's Brownie.
No, it was an actual camera.
It was a camera, okay.
It opened up in the. And so I took a couple of pictures because in those days you would buy a roll of film and there'd be, I forget, maybe 8 or 10 pictures on the roll.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had to be very careful not to take all the pictures in 5 minutes.
Right.
So over the period of the 2 or 3 weeks that the camping, that your term at the camp existed, I took a picture of the scouts at work. I took a picture of the fire tower. I took a picture of the little building that was the mess hall. And then during the following winter, I would develop these pictures and print them on a postcard type of
Nice.
paper. And then the next year I'd go back and I'd sell them
Oh, nice.
to other Eagle Scouts so they could write letters home. So
Very clever, Dad.
it wasn't a very profitable thing, but it did bring enough spending money so I could do. One of the things was they had penny slot machines in the next biggest town, which was Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Well, I think it was the second or the third year I was at Eagle Scout camp, one of my friends from my own home troop was also a member of the camp. And we had decided to go on a canoe trip.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that the Wisconsin River flowed down from Rhinelander and eventually found its way into the Mississippi.
Right.
And so the two of us thought we could canoe that thing and camp on the way.
Right.
So I had my dad ship my canoe up to a small town not too far from Lake Dorothy Dunn. And when we finished our camping period, we loaded up our backpacks, which in those days are not like today's backpacks.
Yeah.
These were backpacks that amounted to half of a pup tent,
Yeah.
rolled up and
Yeah.
carried over your shoulder, sort of like I would remember pictures of Civil War soldiers
Uh-huh.
marching. And so we left the camp and started walking down the road and had maps and found our way to this little town where the railroad station was. And when we got there, we found out that our canoe was not there.
Oh no.
So then we had to find our way to spend the night. So we just went out on the road and found a path into the woods and laid down and
Yeah.
and
Camped out. Yeah.
spend the night. But unfortunately, it rained that night.
Oh no.
So,
It's a good start.
but the next, I think it was the next day that our canoe came in on a train, and we dragged it from the railroad station. I mean drag.
Yeah. This is a wood canoe
One person.
or canvas or
It was a 16-foot canvas
canvas canoe. Yeah.
covered canoe. It was my dad's canoe.
And that's probably pretty heavy.
That was pretty heavy. And we finally dragged it to the river bank and started out floating down the river, very happy, very content, very much unaware that we were totally unexperienced
Of course. Yeah.
and did not have a map of where we were going.
You were going downstream
We just knew that the river would eventually take us
to
somewhere
Mississippi. Yeah.
where we could
Where you'd get out.
where we could get out and send a telegraph back home saying, "Come and get us."
Come get us.
Well, that pretty well ended my adventure, which I'll include by saying that we eventually came to a dam. So there was a dam which backed up the river into a very broad area
Right.
of water.
Yes.
Actually, it looked like a forest underwater.
Yeah.
We could no longer find the middle
Oh no.
or the trail, the center of the river. And it was at that time we were beginning to run out of enthusiasm.
Sure. Was this all in one day or was this a couple days?
Oh, no, this was about the second or third
Second,
day.
third day, huh?
Yeah.
Sure, as the lake spreads out, you can't find the main channel now. It could be any one of these different little fingers, yeah.
So eventually we found a bank,
Okay?
and on the bank we eventually found a location of a town, and we dragged the canoe up on the ground and walked into town and sent a telephone station, a telegraph station at the railroad line. And I sent a telegram to my father. I said something like, lost, broke, and can you send me $16 so we can ship the boat back and hitchhike back to Milwaukee? I was embarrassed by that. And for some 20 years after that, I carried a copy of that telegram in my wallet. And it always reminded me to sort of plan ahead.
Right. Don't be lost and broke.
And don't be lost and broke. And don't be to reach a point where you have to ask for help.
That sounds like a good place to stop this version of Ace's Childhood Adventures. More soon.